Mananiya Sri Yediyappaji, he has been a friend who has had enormous affection for me, and I am very glad to share the stage with him today after a very long time. And Sri Chisu Krishna Shetty, an artist who had nothing to do with politics. He was arrested under Maintenance of Internal Security Act to protect the country from the dangers that his art posed. And he was in jail for 2 years. Yediyurappa was in jail, he told me. He was in jail in 2 places for over 10 months. And my friend, many are sitting here, and most of this audience would have only heard of emergency. And most of them may not even have heard of emergency. And very few of them would have seen emergency or experienced emergency, or like Krishna Bhatt, who is sitting here, who was in jail for 18 months, and he was a Karyakarta of Vidyarthi Parishad. So we are now discussing about something which happened 50 years ago. And suddenly, how did this emergency discussion come about? Nobody talked about it 3 years back, though it happened 50 years back. We must thank Rahul Gandhi for reviving the debate on emergency. I will tell you how even these people do not know. When he got elected in 2024, Rahul Gandhi began holding the Constitution of India, saying that he wants to save the Constitution of India. He did not know that the Constitution which he was holding was a Constitution destroyed by his grandmother during the emergency. So he is holding the Constitution which has been revived after the emergency by the Janata Party, of which the BJP constituted almost 40%. It is the original Constitution which was destroyed by his grandmother during the emergency, revived by the Janata Party which he was holding. So he bowled a full toss at Narendra Modi and he hit it for a 6 by naming June 25th as Constitution Hatya Day. I mean, before an intelligent man like Narendra Modi, one should be careful. He should have at least consulted people whether the Congress party has the qualification to talk about Constitution, constitutional rights, freedom. They just don't have either the moral right or the legal right to talk about it. 99% of Indians did not know about it. Till the government declared, because of the full toss bowled by Rahul Gandhi, that these are the people who destroyed the Constitution and they are claiming to defend the Constitution, and that is how 25th June. And I will give you a small summary of how the whole thing happened, how emergency happened and how emergency was forgotten. And I want to tell you as a summary. Emergency was not one of those accidents. 18 months accident, people were in jail and elections were held and people came out. Don't limit it to a mere 18-month shock. In this period, the Constitution was amended to institute a single-party dynastic autocracy in India. I am going to explain to you because these have not come out in the debate. Even during the emergency, people who went to jail about them, or who were tortured, or the organizations banned, These are all the news. Even the Janata Party was foolish enough to title the Shaw Commission as excesses committed during the emergency. Far more important was the amendments that were carried into the Constitution of India, and the most important amendment about which I will relate later is to convert India into a single party dynastic autocracy. This happened in 1976, not 75. The masses of India saved India from becoming a single party dynastic autocracy. In 1977, they threw the emergency cabal, completely wiped out. I still recall Abu Abraham's cartoon in Indian Express, where the Jat farmer sitting on the ground and smoking hookah, asking JP, is the revolution total? Because in the entire North India Congress was wiped out. Ordinary man. I am going to relate to you how ordinary people fought the emergency. It is not the educated people. It is not the court. It is not the lawyer. It is not the chartered accountant. It is not the academics. Fought by ordinary people. And we won in 1977. We thought the emergency cabal is out and they will go to jail and they will face all the consequences of the wrong things that they had done. But selfish politicians who fought the emergency colluded with the perpetrators of emergency and brought down the Janata government in 1979. The people of India got fed up. They re-elected the emergency cabal in 1980 with the result. In the next 28 out of 34 years, the emergency cabal was in power. What they did, they completely wiped out all the institutional and public memories. The Shaw Commission reports, which tabulated the entire atrocities committed during the emergency and other documents of the government, were done away with. And I will relate later how it happened. That is how that an emergency happened. That itself was not known after the generation which went through the emergency. The second and third generation, most of you belong to that. You don't know about emergency. Emergency was something which, an aberration. It's a wrong thing. But after the emergency, the parliament, there was a discussion in July 1977. Rajiv Gandhi had come back to power with 415 members in parliament. The BJP had 2. Rajiv Gandhi said that the BJP is dead. To carry it, 4 people are needed. It has only 2 people. This is how the opposition was ridiculed. At that time, Madhu Dandavate, he said in a media meeting, if need be, we will impose emergency again. After all this. So Madhu Dandavate asked in the parliament, did you speak like this before the media? Rajiv Gandhi said yes. It is part of the parliament record that Rajiv Gandhi said, if need be, we will impose emergency. This is 1977 July. Afterwards, the Congress was in, after Rajiv Gandhi's assassination, and after the Congress got reduced to a minority, and it was being wiped out from the national scene, whether the Congress should apologize for emergency is a matter which was discussed within the Congress. But every time they said we cannot apologize and we should not apologize. In fact, in the Congress centenary in 1989, a resolution was drafted that we should distance ourselves from emergency. in the last moment, Rajiv Gandhi said we should not do it. I have chronicled all this in a large document which I prepared as part of the 50th anniversary of the declaration of emergency, which the government has named as Constitution Hatya Day. And in that, I have chronicled all this as to how, even after all this, they did not have the mind to say, sir, we have done a wrong thing. And have they wiped out the institutional memory in the government, about which I will tell you later? They are criminals. Those who wanted to wipe out the memory of the greatest danger that happened to the Indian democracy, from which the people recovered Indian democracy from the class of the emergency cabal, which had passed a constitutional amendment to impose a single party autocracy. They wouldn't apologize. They wouldn't regret. They wouldn't say it is wrong. And emergency was almost a forgotten affair. If Rahul Gandhi had not held the constitution to say, I have come to defend the constitution, even the Prime Minister would not have had an opportunity to hit it for a sick gentleman. See which constitution you are holding. This is not the constitution passed by your grandmother during the emergency, but it is the constitution which we restored after eliminating the constitution which your grandmother had passed. This is what the government said and has made now this day as a day of remembrance, and that is what we are going to talk about, and we are extremely happy and we should be thankful to Rahul Gandhi for reinstituting the debate on emergency by his foolishness of not knowing that the constitution which he was showing was the original constitution which his mother had destroyed. I would like to present this in two parts. One is the conspiracy, how the conspiracy to impose a single party dynastic autocracy was achieved. And then only in the Indira declared elections. I will take you month by month what happened during the emergency. And the second is the struggle against the emergency, in which Indira Gandhi and our Krishna Shetty ji and Krishna Bhatt, all of them participated. I had also a small role in that. So how the struggle was waged and how the struggle lit up at the grassroots level. Millions and millions of people kept the spirit of freedom alive, which exploded like a lighted match to a train of gunpowder when the elections were declared. It was an explosion. And how the explosion happened, I will tell you, so that the current generation must know at least an overview of what happened. Hundreds and thousands of families were destroyed. 70 people died in jail. In Kerala, one engineering student was crushed with road roller. It was admitted on affidavit. And all this happened legally. That is emergency. 80,000 people were thrown in jail under visa. And 80,000 people were arrested for satyagraha. The news would not come out. No one would know. The people were saying the trains are running on time, there is no strike, the country is peaceful. This was the propaganda against which a massive resistance movement was built by the RSS. Now I will tell you the events leading to the emergency. Emergency was not conceived and executed in one day. It started when Mrs. Gandhi broke the Congress in 1969, and through people, great people like Nijalingappa, Kamaraj, Morarji Desai, Ram Subhag Singh, great men who had participated in the freedom movement and built the Congress, they were all thrown out. And she seized the Congress. At that time, Ramnath Goenka, the chairman of the Indian Express, with whom I got associated during the emergency and fought as part of the Indian Express group, whose electricity was cut off, machinery was actioned, journalists were arrested, bank loans were stopped, government advertisements stopped. Goenka family sought to be arrested and Remisa, the man, fought. He met Mrs. Gandhi in 1989 and he was a friend of Goenka, a friend of the Congress. He was a congressman till 1965. And he asked Mrs. Gandhi, why did you do this? Congress represents the unity of India. And you have divided the Congress. He said, Mr. Goenka, are you my friend or my enemy? See the autocratic voice at that time. Mr. Goenka stood up and said, the choice is yours, and walked away. From there he started fighting her, and I am not going to go into the chronicle of how he fought, but he fought. From then onwards, she won the elections in 1971, saying that we will free the country of hunger by the great Garibi Hatao slogan. The whole nation was lulled into believing that its hunger would be gone. Till now, only Narendra Modi had to bring down the number of people who were in the hungry line to less than 5 crores. It was 25 crore reduction in the last 11 years. It requires work, it requires commitment, it requires honesty, it requires organization, it requires determination. Mere power won't achieve it. Yes, she promised and couldn't. And the whole nation was lulled into believing she would do it. In 1972, she amended the constitution to make the constitution stand on its head. Fundamental rights were subordinated to the directive principles of the state policy, which means government policies will decide the extent of fundamental rights to be enjoyed by the people. Then in 1973, the Supreme Court said, what you have done is wrong. The 3 judges who gave this decision were superseded. For the post of Chief Justice, they were humiliated. One of them was Justice K.S. Hegde, about whom I will tell later when we asked him to come and deliver a lecture in Chennai, how he gave us the inspiration to fight against the emergency. And then the Supreme Court began surrendering. All are human beings. The Supreme Court lost its backbone in 1973. And it was ready for surrender. She knew it. And in 1974, the kind of corruption, the kind of misrule, the kind of lawlessness that was going on, that made the people revolt. That was the Bihar movement led by Jayaprakash Narayan. In fact, I was in the Indian Express guest house. I was telling my friends who were accompanying me that was the place where JP was being persuaded by Ramnath Goenka, Achyut Patwardhan, Nanaji Deshmukh, Ramdari Singh Dinkar, that you must lead this movement. JP said, my health is not all right. I may die any day. I have to get up 10 times a night because my prostate is not all right. So everybody was persuading him to lead the movement. Ramdari Singh Dinkar was one of them. I don't know how many of you heard about Ramdari Singh Dinkar. He was one of the greatest poets, Jawaharlal Nehru's friend. And he was declared as Rashtra Kavi by Jawaharlal Nehru. And he was saying, I know this lady, she is an autocrat. We have to fight. This was December 1974. So they could not reach a conclusion. So Ramnath Goenka said, let us all go to Tirupati. So they all went to Tirupati. Afterwards, I did not know what happened. 2 years later, Ramnath Goenka told me that in Tirupati, Ramdhari Singh Dinkar prayed before Balaji. Balaji, give the remaining years of my life to Jayaprakash Narayan so that he can lead the movement. They all went to Chennai. In Ramnath Goenka's house in Bangalore, Hicks, Bangalore, Ramdhari Singh Dinkar died on the lap of Jayaprakash Narayan. This I have written, of course, in Ramnath Goenka's obituary. Nanaji has written it in his diary. That is how JP felt there is a divine order for him to battle. That's how the Bihar movement developed. It became such a massive movement, it was uncontrollable. The government was on the run. So in 1975, on June 12th, the Allahabad High Court gave a decision that Mrs. Gandhi's electoral expenses were met not just by the Congress party, but by the government itself, and declared an election invalid, held her responsible for corrupt practices, and said 6 years she cannot contest the elections, she is disqualified, she cannot be an MP, and she cannot be a Prime Minister. Then they went to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court gave the most humiliating order. Of course, she can attend the parliament, but she cannot speak. She cannot vote. Can you think of a Prime Minister who cannot speak, who cannot vote? This was on the 24th of June. On the 25th of June, a massive rally takes place in Delhi that shook the government. Then the lady decided that unless she crushes this whole movement in the country and the judiciary and the media, she is gone. And this Indira did not develop in one day. I am going to quote to you her joint secretary who was working in the PMO, who had said what was happening on December 31, 1974. He is recording this, I am reading. I am filled with foreboding. A crisis is building up. The main cause of the crisis is the Prime Minister. She is completely lacking in tolerance. Now we are told we are intolerant. Her joint secretary says she is intolerant. She is not at all interested in the values which her father had done, that is Jawaharlal had done so much to foster. Nor is she deeply acquainted with the constitutional framework of our country. She was never bothered about the constitution. Who says? Not the opposition party. It is her own joint secretary. She will not relinquish power regardless of what happens. This is 6 months before the emergency the man is recording. In brief, the PM is only concerned with her power and her rule. Such persons tend rapidly towards fascism. How the man prognosticated, he was prophetic. They have no reservations about becoming dictators. So Indira Gandhi as a dictator did not develop in one day. It's a process. It started in 1969. She destroyed the entire Congress. She seized the power over the Congress. And the Congress was the chief party. And she didn't want anybody to question that party and anybody in that party, her. And that transformed her into a dictator well before the emergency. And that is how the emergency came to be imposed on the 25th, 26th June. I will tell you how the emergency took shape. In the first few days, they arrested all the top leaders. You know, our democracy is not anarchy. The most important part of our democracy, all of us must know, otherwise we will never be able to understand the role of political parties, however bad they are. the people look to the leader, and the leader says, do this or don't do this. This is how agitations are held, whether it is a union leader or the political leader or some social movement leader. You completely wiped out the leadership and threw them in jail. The people did not know how to react. First few days, they banned the RSS. This is the only organization which could have been the backbone of any resistance. In the first month, they crushed the media. Except the Indian Express and Statesman, no media would do anything except to sing praises for the emergency. The Congress president said, Indira is India, India is Indira, and many newspapers gladly reported it. Advani said, when you were asked to bend, you began crawling. This was the state of the media. The second month, constitution amendments to nullify the High Court verdict were passed. How it is passed, I am going to tell you, it's laughable. The High Court had held that these are the grounds on which your elections are bad, and they said all the grounds on which the High Court held the election to be bad, they are not applicable, and retrospectively they are corrected. How the amendments are passed. The Supreme Court has to hear the case on the 11th of August. See how the matter proceeds. On the 7th August, 39th Parliament Amendment Bill is introduced in the Lok Sabha. Passed by the Lok Sabha after 2 hours debate. On August 8th, next day, it is introduced in the Rajya Sabha and passed without debate. And it requires the concurrence of all assemblies, 2/3 of the majority assemblies. On 9th, it is passed by all the required state legislatures. On the 10th, the President signs. On the 11th, the Supreme Court hears the matter, and the Supreme Court decides this matter on the basis of the law that obtained not when Mrs. Gandhi contested the election, but on the date on which these amendments were passed. This is the most shameful event in the history of India. So this happened in the second month. Third month, the Gang of Four. 3 names were mentioned. The fourth name I didn't want to mention because he became the President of India later. The entire emergency process, a criminal gang of 4 were entrusted with the job to curb the media, to curb the bureaucracy, to curb the judiciary, and even to kill the people. I'm going to tell you how Mrs. Gandhi instructed the Attorney General to say, even if I kill anybody, nobody can ask anything. This argument was made by the Attorney General. I'm going to tell you now. Third month, a criminal gang took over. In the place of the President, Prime Minister, Cabinet ministers were afraid they would be arrested any time. This is all on record. They have said why they were keeping quiet. They said we would be arrested. Why should we get arrested? This was the state of India. Then in the 6th month, the judiciary was so terrified into submitting to Indira Gandhi totally. 10 high courts had held that if grounds of detention were not disclosed, the arrest is illegal. The matter went to the Supreme Court. In the Supreme Court, Mrs. Gandhi instructed the Attorney General to speak this. Fundamental rights are right to equality, right to freedom of expression, and right to life. So, equality denied, freedom of association, freedom of speech, all are denied. But what about the right to life? So this H.R. Khanna asked on 16th December 1975, Mr. Attorney General, you say all rights are suspended. What about the right to life? The Attorney General said, I will put the question, if during the emergency, a police officer out of personal enmity, killed another man, will there be any judicial remedy? This is what the judge asked. Attorney General says, it may shock your conscience. It shocks mine. But no proceedings can be taken in court on that score. Consistent with my submission, there would be no judicial remedy so long as the emergency exists. Right to kill. Yes, the government can kill. An argument submitted by the Attorney General to the court. Shamelessly, the Supreme Court accepted this. And 4 judges, they even praised the government for having imposed the emergency. I am going to read out their judgment so that you know under what conditions the anti-emergency forces had to work. The Chief Justice said, somebody said, it is like Hitler's rule. The Chief Justice said, people who have faith in themselves and the country would not paint pictures of diabolical distortion and mendacious malignment of the governance of the country. Where is the governance? Then Justice M.H. Begg, he is the most poetic man. We understand that the care and the concern bestowed on by the state authorities upon the welfare and of the detainees who were well housed, well fed, well treated, it was almost maternal. It is like a mother taking care of the children. The detainees are being taken care of. Who is speaking? Shameless Supreme Court judge. Justice Chandrasud, I see a diamond heart, diamond pride, diamond heart hope that such things will never come to pass. The Supreme Court should be shut down, should have been shut down, instead of giving judgments like this. Justice Bhagwati said, freedom is important. I love freedom. But I cannot decide in favor of freedom when the Constitution says there is no freedom. Only one judge, Justice H.R. Khanna, said, this is wrong. And the man was superseded from becoming the Chief Justice during the emergency. This was the state. And afterwards, the most horrendous thing happens. 6th month it is over, December 1975. Between December 1975 and 1976, this Constitution 42nd Amendment Bill was passed. The 42nd Amendment, I can tell you about 20 things because it was the largest Constitution Amendment that constituted more than 50-60% of the Constitution itself. The most important amendment was Article 32A, which said that any organization can be banned as an anti-national organization. If somebody called for strike, that is an anti-national activity. Some organization could be banned on grounds that it is communal. If BJP had talked about Hindutva, it could be banned. Which means the caste-based organizations could be banned. OBC organizations could be banned. Which means there will be only one party. And that is the Congress. That was the idea. So they passed the amendments. On the 2nd of January, these amendments were notified. And on the 18th of January, Mrs. Gandhi called the elections because she said she had won. The whole country is silent. Eerie silence. Nobody talking anything. So she said she didn't lift the emergency. She released the leaders and said, I am going to hold the elections. March 19th will be the polls. And she released everybody on 19th January. Advani was released from Bangalore. He had come to Chennai. From Chennai, he was to pick a flight to Delhi. We all received him in the airport in Chennai. And we asked Advani ji, what are we going to do? What he said, I am going to tell you, it will shock you. He said, if we contest the elections, we will probably not win. We have no money. All the powers are in their hands. People are terrified. Whether they will even come and vote outside, we don't know. So, if we contest the elections and lose, she will say, people have approved the emergency. That was her idea. Once people approve the emergency, they have given her the right to rule the country without opposition party. This is not coming out in the debate. This must come out in the debate. Rahul Gandhi and Congress must be questioned by citing Article 32A. Did you not want to rule this country without an opposition? Advaniji said this. Then he said, if we don't contest the elections, she will say, you can't even contest the elections, you are running away. Fortunately, Jayaprakash Narayan and Kripalani were there. They forced all the opposition parties to unite into one party to put one candidate against the Congress. It is the emergency versus people who oppose the emergency. You know, it wiped out the entire Congress. As I said, it is the people. And once this happened, the emergency cabal was out. But we must know how the emergency was fought. And all the leaders were arrested. As I said, the whole country fell into silence. But people like Nanaji, Fernandez, many RSS leaders went underground immediately. When JP was arrested, he sent a small slip to Nanaji Deshmukh, go underground and organize the underground movement. There were spontaneous protests for a month. Token satyagrahas were there in July and August. On Independence Day and Gandhi birthday, because we could not assemble. If you assemble, you are arrested. But you could not at least arrest us if we assemble on Independence Day, on Mahatma Gandhi Day. Thousands and thousands of people used to assemble and talk about freedom in those days. And the underground movement, I remember great people like Yadaraj Joshi, Bhaurao Devras, Sheshadriji, Tengriji, Madan Das, Surnarayan Rao. All of them had assumed pseudonyms. I had seen even some of them having cigarettes in their hands, not to be identified. They will not smoke but keep a cigarette in their hand. Wear Western dress, hat and stick and walk around. We used to receive them in the railway stations. I mean, the determination to fight, you must have seen at that time. I am going to relate to you how the Satyagraha was conducted. It's a lesson as to how to fight a treacherous, a monstrous government. So, I will read out the Satyagraha oath, which all of us were required to take. The oath read like this. It was before Mahatma Gandhi picture. I take a vow voluntarily with pleasure to participate in the Dharma Yuddha against untruth, injustice, and oppression taking place in the sacred and divine land. I am fully and courageously prepared to face all the trials and tribulations that I will confront in this struggle. With the Almighty and our beloved motherland in my mind, I take oath to tirelessly work for the ultimate victory in this sacred battle. Lakhs of people took the oath, Bharat Mata Ki Jai, and the Satyagrahis were told what to do, what not to do. Many people underestimated the Satyagraha. The Satyagrahas were held in such crowded places. The ratio between the Satyagrahis and the people who witnessed were 1:100 minimum. And the number of people who heard about the Satyagraha from the people who saw the Satyagraha were 1:100. So, 80,000 Satyagrahis communicated to 88 crore families. That is how the underground movement welled up the people's anger. As I said, like a lighted match to a train of gunpowder, when the elections were declared, it burst out. Now, I will only go into one or two limited aspects as to how the two things, how the whole country exploded, and before that, definitely I have to read one quote. That is, underground magazines. We ran underground magazines because the newspapers were not giving any true information. The underground magazines which we printed and circulated, there was a huge demand for that. 10, 20 people will sit together to read the underground magazines. That was spreading so fast that created a huge amount of anger against the government. The government did not know about it. Congress party did not know about it. Intelligence people did not know about it. Media did not know about it. It was all going underground. These two events, Satyagraha and the underground pamphlet, did it, and I will now, because I am not exposed to Satyagraha in other places, I will only say how the Satyagraha in Tamil Nadu were led. Very ordinary people fought this emergency, as I said. Groups of Satyagrahis were led, 10, 20, 30 people were led by one person. Factory workers led 16 Satyagrahi groups. Small traders led 24 groups. Farmers led 12 groups. Students, 8 groups. Tea shop owners, 2 groups. Tailors, 2 groups. Clerks, 5 groups. Teachers, 2 groups. Launderer, 1 group. That is my Shaka mate, Kupuswami, a laundry man. He led 1 group. Do you find any tall people here? Emergency was fought by ordinary people. They welled up the anger. And now I will read out how the emergency exploded. When the elections were announced and the first rally was announced in Delhi, and in that rally, Vajpayee, Chandrasekhar, JP, all of them addressed. And in that rally, I will read out to you how Chandan Mitra, a journalist, described that rally. That day, Indira Gandhi knew she had been defeated. The address by the opposition parties included Jagjeevan Ram, Morarji Desai, Atal Bihari Vajpayee, Charan Singh, Chandrasekhar. The rally was described by the political commentators as epoch-making. It was an act of defense, something which India has never seen before, wrote veteran journalist Chandan Mitra, who covered the rally. The emergency was still in force, but the people's response to the call was overwhelming. The rally conveyed the mood of the nation. Suddenly, we all knew Indira regime was collapsing. It was in an act of desperation, wrote Chandan Mitra. The government decided to run the super hit film Bobby on the DD to keep the people away from rally. Bus services were all suspended. Despite that, there was not an inch of space in the Ramlila Maidan. People walked miles to attend the rally that decided the fate of Indira Gandhi. This would not have happened but for the fact that we kept the flame alive. And that's where I want to quote Justice K. Hegde. In July 1976, we had organized a civil liberties conference in Chennai, addressed by K. Hegde, Cho Ramaswamy, and Ira Cheyan, and others. The police threatened to arrest us, but the way the people responded to the rally, they couldn't do anything. After the meeting was over, it was about 9 o'clock in the night, we went to meet K. Hegde in the hotel. It is a small hotel, we had housed him. He said, "Sir, we see only darkness all around. Will we be able to come out of this? Many of us have not even gone to our houses. In fact, I could not go to my father's shraddh because I was underground. So when we were all suffering like this, how are we going to come out of it? At that time, you know, there used to be electricity, power used to go off. So we had kept the flame, the candlestick burning. Power went off. The candlestick was burning. Hegde said, our job is like this. Keep the flame alive. And it is that flame that became a tornado. Defeated the lady. And they suppressed all the materials. Shaw Commission report, everything was burnt. In 2011, only one copy of the Shaw Commission report escaped and was in the hands of Ira Cherian. We reprinted it and re-released it under Advaniji's leadership in 2011. Otherwise, all the material about emergency was wiped out. Today, because this unintelligent man bowled a full toss by holding a constitution which did not belong to him. It belonged to the Janata Party. It belonged to Ambedkar. It did not belong to Indira Gandhi. He held this constitution and mocked at Narendra Modi. He bowled this full toss and Narendra Modi hit it for a 6, and that is the Constitution Hatya Day which we are remembering. Thank you very much.